We are talking Pistons this morning, and that's why we brought on Twitter famous at Pistons Talk. And of course, you know, he's all over Facebook as well. Make sure you go follow them. And, you know, it's just great insight to bring on our local contributors to talk about the Pistons, because we haven't spent a ton of time on them this season. There really hasn't been a ton to talk about. Early on, it was, what's Killian going to be? Then it was, oh, shit, we don't have Killian. Then it was, oh, my God, this Isaiah Stewart guy's an absolute animal. Then it was, Saddiq Bey can't miss from three. And that's pretty much the story of the Pistons season. And that leads us to where we're at right now. The Pistons sitting dead last in the Eastern Conference. Got a game tonight. Yeah. Got a game tonight. So where do you think we're going to wind up in the draft? I mean, obviously, it's a lottery. You never know. And history has shown that the lottery has not been kind to the Detroit Pistons, except for the one year we got the #2 overall pick and then pissed that away accordingly. So what do you think? Do you think we're going to get a good lottery pick this year? Do you think we'll at least land top 3?
If you do the math, they have a 52.1% chance of getting a top 4 pick. If you want to be a pessimist, like me,
it's 48.
The Pistons have a 20% chance of falling to 6. That is the farthest they can fall, sitting at that #2 spot. So we won't draft at 7. I think that's something we're too familiar with. But if you get a top 5 pick, I think you're set. The talent in the top 5 can change your franchise around. As I've watched, highlights of these guys, study film on them, I think you get a top 5 pick, I think a lot of fans will be happy.
Yeah, see, I'm more convinced that the top 3 are the major game changers in this draft. I mean, top 5 would be great, but I think we really need to be in that top 3, because I'm talking Mobley and I'm talking the 2 Jalens. Like, those are my 3 targets.
No Cunningham?
Huh?
You don't want Cade?
Oh, Cade. Yeah, I'm sorry. I misspoke. Yeah, those are my 4 targets. So, out of the 2 Jalens, I know you spoke highly of Jalen Green last time. Is that still who you would like the Pistons to draft?
Yeah, because it's a team need. I think if you look at the team right now, you need a shooting guard. We've experimented with Saddiq Bey at shooting guard, Josh Jackson at shooting guard. We traded Svi Mykhailiuk for Hamidou Diallo. He's been playing some shooting guard. I think if you draft Jalen Green, I think he fits better next to Killian Hayes versus Jalen Suggs. Not to say Jalen Suggs isn't going to be a good pro. I think he's going to be a really sound point guard. He reminds me a lot of Drew Holiday, but just what Jalen Green can do on the court. He's got 3-level scoring, and this, you watch the tape on him, it's just some of the stuff he does, it's just, you're just, wow, this going to be a human highlight reel.
Yeah, when you look at Green, I look at him as more of a complimentary player.
Look at that Detroit jersey in the back. You see that?
the Red Wings Detroit jersey. Yeah. Now, when you look at Jalen Green, he is more of a compliment player to Killian Hayes. I think if you draft a guy like Suggs, you're kind of drafting almost the same player as a Killian, and I'm not sure they can coexist in the same backcourt.
I'm glad you said that. I don't think they can either, because both of them aren't really knockdown 3-point shooters. Right. Jalen Suggs in college shot 33.5% from 3. Killian this year shooting around 29%. Jalen Green, on the other hand, in the G League against grown men, shot 36% from 3. So, I mean, I think if you get a top 3 pick, whether it's Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, or Jalen Green, I think those are the 3 guys that I'm most high on.
Another reason I would go ahead and go with Green is that, like you said, it'll be a great complementary to Killian Hayes. He can create his own shot. That is one thing that I love about Green, and he's pretty explosive. You're going to need an explosive backcourt, especially in this league with the way how fast the game is right now. So I would definitely be okay with Green. Suggs, like you just said, he was 36%. He was 27% for his career as a 3-point shooter. Definitely need to stay away from that.
Yeah, I just think they have similar games too. Like when I watch Killian and I watch Suggs play, they're just like they're more ball control guys. They need to have the ball in their hands, and I think if you bring in a guy like Green, you could start running him off of picks. He's more athletic. You could throw him in some one-on-one ISOs if the play breaks down. There's just more options with a Jalen Green.
He's a good combo guard.
Yeah, and really, I gotta give it to you for last time you were on, you mentioned him and you're like, this is the guy, and I was like, all right, I really got to dig into this guy and see what the hell he's all about. And everything you said about this guy is completely accurate. Like, he has the highest ceiling, I think, of anybody coming out in the draft this year as far as athleticism goes, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, scouts that I've talked to, the draft guys that I trust, they think he's the real deal. They think he could easily average 20 points a game. They think he could be like a Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal type of player in this league.
That would be nice. I'd take Bradley Beal. I would take Bradley Beal in a minute right now, especially to compliment Killian and the way he can get guys the ball in open space.
I'll take Bradley Beal right now at 50% with that jacked up hamstring.
Same here. Same here.
You think he's got a shot to win the scoring title this year?
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, it's him and Steph back and forth right now, right?
Well, you know what? I don't know with the hamstring, not really so sure. Steph right now is about to empty that clip until he can't anymore, so kind of hard.
Yeah, the Warriors are now officially into the play-in series, so they're officially in and officially dangerous. Let's kind of shift gears to the NBA playoffs coming up. Do you see the Warriors, or what team do you see kind of being an underdog going in could make some noise?
I don't really know. Like, the Warriors in the play-in is interesting. I haven't really looked at the West. Are the Lakers still at that 7th spot?
As of right now, yeah.
Ooh, that would be really good TV. I think if you look at the West, I can't really say anyone in the Western Conference is an underdog because there's just so many good teams. But I honestly think this is the year that Utah does make some noise. I think it's the year. I don't want to say like they're just going to be like the Atlanta Hawks from a few years ago, win like 60, 70 games and get swept in the first round. I think what they do can translate into playoff basketball. I think, they have a defensive anchor in Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, who should be a Piston. He's been balling out all year. Mike Conley. They have a really fun team, and they just play really, fundamentally sound basketball, and it's really enjoyable to watch.
It's so sad. We can't mention Donovan Mitchell without being like, he could have been a Piston. He could have been a Piston. Like, that is one that burns, I think, more than any. Not any, but
D Wade is one for me.
Yeah, Wade is. God, that entire 04 draft is one for me.
I mean, we keep forgetting Stanley Johnson over Devin Booker.
Oof. Yeah.
That's when the Pistons needed spacing. Oh man, we need a knockdown shooter. Oh crap, Stanley Johnson is there. Let's grab him. What?
I'll always throw it back to that one series Stanley Johnson had against LeBron, and it looked like he could actually defend LeBron. And I thought, oh, coming into next year, this guy's going to step up his defense.
Stanley Johnson did a good job on LeBron, like Ruben Patterson did a good job on Kobe. It was a myth. But I do got a question for you about Donovan Mitchell. What do you think? Do you think that Shaq's comments on him about like he's good but not that great? They had that awkward exchange earlier this season, and it seems like ever since then the Jazz just took off. Do you really think they got a shot at this whole thing?
I do. I think that they have a really good coach in Quinn Snyder. They have good role players. Jordan Clarkson last night was an absolute flamethrower off the bench. I think he had like 40 points and like 0 assists going into his inner Kobe Bryant. But I mean, honestly, like I do think they have a shot to really upset some people.
That was my last game. I shot for a game was the Pistons Jazz, and then we went into COVID.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the rookies, you mentioned playoffs. I mean, with the Pistons being 20-49, do you truthfully think that if we add a Jalen Green or a Cade Cunningham to the Pistons lineup, that it'll actually transcend into giving us that playoff spot?
I think Cade's the only player that can get you into a playoff situation. I think he's a generational talent. I think whoever gets Cade, their franchise changes that night. I think that's how highly I think of him. I think a lot of people have compared him to, a Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic. When you look at players of his size, you think of Ben Simmons, you think of LeBron James, you think of Luka. Those are the types of players that, he, kind of could, model his game after. And I think, like I said, whoever gets him, they're getting a star.
Yeah, he is a game changer. I just wish there were more of them to pass around because the Pistons, I mean, Okay, let's say they cash in on this draft. They get a solid player. They get a Jalen Green. At that point, how far away do you think they are? Is it still 2-3 years of the rebuild, getting these young guys, more playing time and hoping they gel as a team over time? Or is it we got to add a big-name free agent, or this is never going to work?
I've heard multiple, I keep hearing this rumor. I don't know where it stemmed from, but they're trying to pair up like a Batman to Jeremy Grant's Robin. They're trying to pair up another player. I don't know whether that's in free agency via trade. I don't know what player they're currently looking at, but they're going to try to push for the playoffs. Now, whether they make it or not, that's yet to be determined. But I think if they could sneak into a play-in next year, easily, they could be a 10 seed in the East.
I mean, I'm looking at the Eastern Standing Conference right now. I mean, from the 7 to 10, you got Boston. Of course, they had some injuries this year. Ooh. Charlotte, Indiana, Washington. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Pistons can get somewhere up, pull even with the Pacers and the Hornets by through the free agency and everything like that. But I've been also hearing that they might try to move Jeremy Grant to get an even bigger player, which I think would be stupid. What would you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that too. I mean, you heard the Boston package. I don't really know if I believe it. Seems like every year Danny Ainge says I was so close. I offered him my first round draft picks, but that never happens. But I personally don't know. I feel like that's Troy Weaver's guy. He was with him in OKC. He recruited him at Syracuse. I think that's something that Troy wants to build around. He wants to build a team around Jeremy Grant. Now, I don't know if fans necessarily like that or not, but he's a two-way forward, and I think that's what you need in a playoff series. We saw what he did in the bubble last year against Kawhi Leonard when the Nuggets were laughably down 3-1 and they kept coming back. But I mean, I think he's a guy that still has another level. I don't think he's a finished product yet.
I consider Jeremy Grant to Troy Weaver kind of like how Jared Goff is to Brad Holmes. They both brought in their guy who they feel that they can build around, at least for the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty interesting comparison. I didn't really think of it like that, but I think playoffs aren't really that far away. I don't think it's going to take 2 to 3 years. I think, you look at the games that we played this year. I mean, we've stayed competitive with almost every opponent. And Coach Casey has admittedly said, most nights I would have kept the Bets out there. I would have kept Mason Plumlee out there. I would have kept Jeremy Grant out there longer. He basically said, yeah, I'm trying to lose on purpose to get a top draft pick. Like, he didn't physically say that, but just within the interviews when you listen to him, he's just like, yeah, we're just trying to develop right now. We're not really trying to focus on winning too much.
Oh, yeah, if you look at the injury report, you can tell that they're not trying to, our injury report.
It's always like a long
literally, there's 15 names on our injury report, and then you look at the team we're playing, it's like 1 or 2. For the last 5 games, it's looked like that. So it's just been a scroll of players that were that are hurt.
And that's the thing is, I don't think it'll be tough to bounce back and actually get a playoff spot, but it's the whole being a playoff contender. You look at the Sixers, you look at the Bucks, you look at the Nets. I mean, the East got such good talent that we just can't compete with because of all these super teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other problem when you're a small market team like Detroit.
Listen,
where,
we beat the super team before. We could do it again with a real team and team basketball and playing the right way and going to work.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it before. I mean, the Bad Boys did it. No one talks about the Bad Boy Pistons because they were interrupting, the Bird and Magic era. The 04 Pistons, probably, the team I grew up on, stopped Kobe from getting a championship. They like to blame that, Shaq and Kobe weren't on the same page. Ben Wallace would actually say that's BS because he said he was locking down Shaq the whole damn series. But, I mean,
well, that
honestly,
was the difference in that series. We could play Shaq one-on-one, and you can't forget about Eldon Campbell coming off the bench. He guarded Shaq really well because they were teammates in LA. You throw Memo on him for a little bit. We had a lot of fouls to use on him in that series, and Ben beat him up one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really interested to see. I know they just announced that there's going to be a huge Laker documentary coming out next year. Can't wait to see that 2004 part.
Oh, that is going to be a highlight. Definitely, that's going to be a blip.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be like 20 seconds.
Yeah, it'll be it. That's it.
And they're gonna breeze over the phantom foul too in '88. Like that's not gonna happen. But '89 they'll have to deal with it.
Absolutely.
Now, that's one thing I always love when I get in arguments with Lakers fans. It's like, look, 2 of our 3 championships have come against you guys, so thank you. Like, yeah, we love playing you in the finals, and they don't like to hear that.
Now, Anthony, have you heard anything about Sean Sweeney? I've been hearing a little rumblings, like, if the Pistons decided to move on from Dwayne Casey, that Sean might be in line for a promotion, because I hear that a lot of people are high on him.
Yeah, he's an interesting name. I haven't heard that rumor. I know that he was in Milwaukee. He's responsible for the Greek freak that is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't really know if he's a assistant coach that would want to coach. I know he did coach a little bit in the summer league in Vegas when they were in the summer league, but I don't know. Honestly, like if we were to replace a coach, I mean, I'm really high on Jerry Stackhouse, but doubt he leads Vanderbilt. But I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. That's the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah, I heard it from a couple people. Nothing really serious. I just want to see if you had heard anything about it. Because for me, if the Pistons were to move on from Casey, I would be interested in bringing back Billups.
Yep.
And having them go ahead and take the reins of the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's another interesting name. I mean, we heard that he wanted to be a GM. He wanted to be assistant. I think he wanted to be a GM, like straight up, like no experience. He's like, yeah, I'll be a GM if you pay me enough. But he's like, we're like, no, you don't have any experience. We were willing to bring him in, to learn under a GM, but he didn't have any interest in that. Now he's an assistant with the Clippers, I believe.
Yep.
That would be interesting. I hometown favorite. I think a lot of fans would love that, honestly, just from, watching the 04 team and just, watching Chauncey throughout his career.
Well, we'll see what the future holds for the Pistons in the draft and in the coaching chair. Pistons Talk, thank you so much for coming on with us this morning and discussing Pistons. We got to do this more often, and I'm sure we will once we start inching towards the draft and the lottery and all that good stuff, too. But thank you for all you do to contribute to Woodward Sports as well, man.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Have a great morning.
You
Joey,
too.
not going to say goodbye?
Bye-bye, Anthony.
What the hell, Joey? Say bye.
It was our solo shot.